Lance Andrews heads into the pits on lap 21. He had to come in early because he started developing a tire rub, and so his crew held him for about 10 seconds while they fixed that damage, which really sets the 26 back. Lucas Sweeney gets held up by Cedric Dejoux once again. This allows Alex Carson to make up that huge deficit and get right to the 8's back bumper. They make their pit stops at the same time at about lap 23 and come out still very close together. Bruce Wilkinson decided to pit on the same lap as Carson and Sweeney. He comes out running a very distant third. Even though he's really got no shot at winning the race at this point because he's so far back, this is still a very good run for Wilkinson. He is using equipment currently under development by Gravity Racing, and if his performances are any indication, then that team could be a force to be reckoned with next year. Bobby Porto and Antonio Cristani are going to interfere with the battle between Lucas Sweeney and Alex Carson. They're running much faster than the leaders because they made their pit stops earlier, and these tires get faster as time goes on, and Bobby Porto turns around Alex Carson. Carson was Sweeney's only competition at this point in the race, and he got turned around by a lapped car. Carson was not happy at all with Porto, and neither were the officials. They called Porto to the hauler. More problems for Philip Borland coming into the boot. He's going to get turned around by Todd Stater. He goes into the wall, and that is going to take car number 99 out of the race. Here we have Scott Morales and Lance Andrews battling for the 4th spot. That time the 26 crew took to repair that damage didn't set him back so many positions, and Lance Andrews turns around Scott Morales coming out of the boot. Andrews had already been called to the hauler for turning around Jason Bates and Amy Harrison, so this time Lance Andrews was black flagged and will have 30 seconds added to his finishing time. Here is Shane Lake, who inherits the 5th spot. So what does he do now that he's in the top 5? He runs into the wall coming off of the last corner. That is going to cause a tire rub to develop on the 155, and Lake is going to have to pit to repair that damage, losing that spot as quickly as he gained it. Cedric Dejoux in the 37 continues to do what he's been doing best today, getting in the way. This time he holds up James West, who turns him into the wall, sending both cars spinning. West is going to keep going, while Dejoux finally gets taken out of the race. Coming into the last corner, Lance Andrews makes a move for the pit lane, and he doesn't seem to know that Bruce Wilkinson is there, running into him twice and missing the pit lane. This would prompt the officials to add an additional 15 seconds to his penalty, so now Lance Andrews is going to have 45 seconds deducted from his finishing time. Rybert Scott has moved his way back up into the top 10 after his spin early on in the race. Good job by Scott and the 33 crew for rebounding from that early incident. Packer Carroll is right behind the 33. He is running a lap down. Coming into turn 1, Bobby Porto is going to get a bit of a shot from Lance Andrews. Porto runs wide and spins off the course. However, this time it wasn't really Andrews' fault, surprisingly enough. Packer Carroll was putting a lot of pressure on the 26 and may have given him a shot, which pushed the 26 into the 64. Antonio Cristani is going to go for another ride in turn 1. He runs the turn a little bit wide and comes back down in front of Anthony Griffith, spinning the 58 around. And look out for Rybert Scott, that could have turned ugly. Coming out of the boot, Todd Stater is going to get into Andy Pearson, your points leader and pole sitter, and turns him into the wall, and Andy Pearson is going to go out of the race. This is the last thing Pearson wanted, with Bobby Porto breathing down his neck in the championship standings. With just 10 laps to go, Lucas Sweeney has a huge lead over Alex Carson in the 28. There is Bruce Wilkinson, who has slowly been chasing the 28 down. And then coming over the hill, that is Kurt Walker in the 4th position. James West in the 69 is a lap down, and we are waiting for Todd Stater, who is running in 5th. There is Stater in the yellow 150 car. This is the best battle in the closing laps of the race, the battle for second between Bruce Wilkinson and Alex Carson, with Namimura helping that out by holding up the 28. Mura runs turn 1 wide. Alex Carson does not move over for her and turns her into the inside wall. However, Mura does not spin out. Despite that contact with the 39, Alex Carson is able to hold off Wilkinson for just a little while longer, but eventually Wilkinson overpowers the 28. But going into the boot, Alex Carson is going to battle back. Wilkinson has to slow down a bit more than the 28 does, but they are still side by side coming through the turn. But coming off the corner, Wilkinson says see ya to Alex Carson. But in the meantime, with no competition for the latter half of the race, Lucas Sweeney cruises on to the easy victory, the second of his career. And here are your top 10 finishers. Alex Carson couldn't get back to Bruce Wilkinson, who finished second. Kurt Walker hangs on to the 4th spot with Todd Stater in 5th. Joey Harrison 6th. That is one of his best finishes ever in this series. Anthony Griffith comes home 7th. Robert Scott 8th in his very first start. I would like to point out that Lance Andrews came across the line in 9th, but because of his 45-second penalty, he was placed in 12th, bumping Shane Lake into 9th, and then Sean Donnelly, Alex Carson 8th, Ricky Navarro 9th, and Nami Mura rounds points. Bobby Porteau leads coming out of Watkins Glen by 2 points over Andy Pearson. There are only 5 races left in the season after this, and it is shaping up to be a very heated battle for the title. Andy Pearson is going for his 5th title, and Bobby Porteau is going for his 1st. Kevin Monroe and Jason Bates are separated by 1 point. They run 3rd and 4th. Packer Carroll is a very distant 5th, 142 points back, but he's got a nice battle going with Kurt Walker for that spot, who is 4 points behind Carroll.